A store owner was shot and killed inside the shops at Redbird yesterday.
Investigators say a woman named Rashonda Lowe entered the mall with a gun and shot Jaime Rocket several times. Fox 4's Stephen Dial is live with more tonight. Stephen.
Steve, we went in that mall today and I spoke to multiple business owners who said they were in there at the time of the shooting, saw the two arguing, and then heard multiple gunshots. According to court documents, investigators say the victim's wife told them that he had a restraining order against Lowe. The cookies and smoothie store inside the shops at Redbird was closed Wednesday, hours after it became a crime scene on Tuesday afternoon. Court documents say just before 4 p.m. on July 1st, Rashonda Lowe shot Jaime Rocket multiple times in the head, chest, and legs with a handgun, then drove away from the mall in a white SUV. Investigators say there's mall surveillance video of Lowe arriving at 2:35 in the afternoon, and then the two talking at the cookie shop for more than an hour. Court documents say Lowe pulled out a handgun and started firing, then jumped over the counter and fired more rounds at close range.
They knew her as Shonda, full of life, drawing people in like a magnet, a therapist who lived by positive words and good vibes. She preached about energy and karma. She believed healing could fix anything, but sometimes the person doing the healing needs healing the most. July 1st, 2025, a cookie and smoothie shop tucked inside Redbird Mall in Dallas. Jaime Rocket, 53 years old, was working his regular shift. Then his past walked through the door. Rashonda Lowe, 43, licensed therapist. The woman who used to call him hers, she came with a gun. This woman made her living helping people deal with anger, teaching folks how to handle loss, guiding them through heartbreak. But on this day, she brought all that pain with her. She stepped into Jaime's store at 3 p.m. The cameras caught everything. No smiles, no friendly conversation, just two people with history. And that history was ugly. They stood across from each other, voices getting louder, the tension thick enough to cut. For almost an hour they went back and forth. Then she pulled out her gun. One shot, two shots, she kept firing. Jaime fell behind the counter. She didn't stop there. She jumped over that counter and shot him again. Police came running, too late. Jaime was already gone. Rashonda had already run. But this wasn't some heat of the moment thing. This was planned, calculated, obsessive. Because Jaime had papers on her, a restraining order. She wasn't supposed to be anywhere near him. He'd moved on, got married, started fresh. But Rashonda, she couldn't let go. When your heart won't accept the end, sometimes it chooses destruction instead. This ain't just about a murder. This is about love that turned toxic. About a healer who never healed herself. About warning signs that got ignored until it was too damn late. You're watching Shadow Crimes TV, where we bring true crime and domestic violence stories out of the shadows. Subscribe now and join us daily as we uncover the cases that demand to be heard. Don't just watch, be part of the conversation. Jaime Alejandro Rocket was building something beautiful. Husband, father, grandfather. At 53, he'd become part of Dallas's heartbeat. His little cookie and smoothie shop at Redbird Mall wasn't just a business. It was a beacon. When you walked in, you weren't just buying dessert. You were getting a warm welcome, a bright spot in a hard day. Jaime didn't make noise about it, but folks knew. The man was a giver. Young people would drift into his shop looking for more than sweets. Jaime saw them. He offered jobs, gave guidance, handed out second chances like free samples. His shop didn't just smell like fresh cookies. It felt like home. It felt like a community. Behind that gentle spirit was a man who'd been through it. He'd loved hard, lost hard, but he learned to heal. When things ended with Roshanda, Jaime didn't break. He didn't get bitter. He chose peace. He remarried, started over. This time he loved smarter, with boundaries, with intention. To the people closest to him, Jaime was more than a business owner. He was safe, someone you could count on, someone who gave everything and asked for nothing back. But here's the thing about people who shine bright, they draw the darkness too. Jaime was building something lasting, something joyful. He had no clue how far someone from his past would go to burn it all down. Her name was Roshanda Lowe. Roshanda talked like she had all the answers. She understood trauma, how it sticks to you. She preached about healing and boundaries, about emotional awareness. On paper, she was perfect, the kind of guide you'd want when life got messy. Licensed clinical social worker, 43 years old. She specialized in helping people navigate pain, grief, broken trust, all that invisible damage that cuts deep but doesn't bleed. Her clients felt calm around her. Colleagues respected her. Strangers were impressed. Master's degree. Her own practice. A reputation built on understanding people at their lowest points. But here's what nobody could see. What nobody ever sees. What happens when the healer won't heal herself. While Roshanda spent her days teaching others about processing emotions, her own were rotting inside. All those skills she preached, emotional regulation, detachment, mindfulness, they started crumbling under the weight of her own mess. Roshanda Lowe wasn't just a therapist, she was a warning. Even the most self-aware people can shatter if they refuse to face their own pain. When Jaime and Roshanda first got together, it wasn't some movie moment. No sparks flying. It was quieter than that. Two people who'd been through enough to appreciate something steady. He was coming out of a rough chapter. She was, in her own words, still healing. From the outside, it looked promising. A solid man with quiet strength. A therapist with emotional depth. Two grown folks who understood loss and were ready to build something. But growth needs truth. And underneath their connection, the cracks were already there. Roshanda wanted a partner who wouldn't just love her. She wanted someone who'd love her kids, like they were his own. Jaime tried, maybe not the way she needed. A man who dated her before Jaime put it plain. She'd vent about how Jaime spends money on her, but don't do anything for her kids. I did a lot with her kids. Her son lost his father. Her daughter invited me to donuts. Those words aren't just complaints. They're a window into the unresolved pain Roshanda carried into every relationship. She wasn't just asking for love, she was demanding a repair. And when Jaime couldn't meet that unspoken need, resentment started growing. But Jaime didn't lash out. He didn't escalate. He moved on, quietly, gently, deliberately. He remarried, tried to live in peace. But Roshanda, she stayed stuck, emotionally tangled, spiritually unsettled. Their breakup wasn't dramatic. No arrests, no viral fights, just a slow, simmering distance that hid something dangerous. While Jaime turned the page, Rashonda was still staring at the last chapter, rewriting it in her mind over and over until love turned into loss and loss curdled into obsession. When her relationship with Jaime ended, something inside her broke. Her outward glow, calm, poised, graceful, hid a fire raging inside. It burned low at first, unnoticed. Then it flared, impossible to ignore. When Jaime tied the knot with his new wife, Rashonda was no longer in his world. But letting go, that wasn't her. Some folks, when they lose their place, don't walk away, they hover. They prowl. They wait for a weak spot to crack open. It started small, subtle. A text here, a call there. Just enough to unsettle. But that unease grew teeth. Rashonda's moves got bolder, more reckless. She kept popping up, crossing lines Jaime had drawn in stone. He tried to keep the peace, but his wife saw the truth, plain as day. This wasn't just an ex tripping, this was danger, dressed in a familiar face, so they got a restraining order, a piece of paper to slam the door on the past, to say no more, but paper can't hold back a heart in chaos. It can't hush the hurt screaming inside. It can't unravel the knots of entitlement, or mend a soul that's been broken too long. For Jaime and his wife, that order was a shield. For Rashonda, it was salt in a wound that never scabbed over. In the quiet after the court papers dropped, there was no peace, no reckoning, no real space. Whispers floated online, unconfirmed talk that Jaime was still messing with her, even after the vows. Even after the order, word was he kept her dangling, playing with her heart. I can't say if it's true, but this much is real. She knew she'd never be his first choice. The woman who helped others stitch up their heartbreak couldn't hold her own together. The gap between her public mask and her private storm widened. That polished image she wore, therapist, healer, guide, started to crack under the weight of pain she never faced. A hurricane was brewing, silent but deadly, waiting for its moment to unleash. Then on Tuesday, July 1st, 2025, it broke wide open. The day started softly at cookies and smoothies. The air was sweet with warm cookies. Folks drifting in for a quick treat. Jaime Rocket stood behind the counter, doing what he did best, spreading love, one smile at a time. But at 3 p.m., the vibe shifted. Rashonda Lowe stepped through the door, not by chance, not for a smoothie. She came for him. Cameras caught her, face hard, standing across from Jaime. For nearly an hour, they went at it, words sharp, tension thick enough to choke on. Witnesses said it felt like a storm about to burst. History hung heavy between them, too raw to resolve. Then between 3:50 and 4 p.m., Rashonda made her move. She pulled a gun. No pause, no second thoughts. Shots rang out. 1, 2, more. Jaime crumpled behind the counter, blood pooling, shock in his eyes. But she wasn't done. She climbed over, stood over him, and fired again, point blank, with intent. The man who once held her pain became its target. Then, cool as ice, she walked out, got in her white SUV, drove off. But the story didn't end there. Later that day, she strolled into the Arlington Police Department, looked the officers dead in the eye, and said she'd just come from a domestic situation with her ex. That mask, the therapist, the nurturer, the healer shattered. What stood there was a woman whose pain had finally won. She didn't just take Jaime's life. She made it personal. Before Jaime, there was another man. He knew her not as a news headline, not as a killer, but as Shonda, a soul woven with beauty, chaos, and light, all knotted together. He wasn't her client or her prey. He was her man once. In a raw Facebook post after her arrest, he poured out his heart trying to piece together the wreckage. When he had Rashonda Lowe and I had Shonda Lowe, I was in the process of healing a broken version of a beautiful soul, being consistent, caring, thoughtful, and firmly stern on key aspects in the relationship. I was always there when she needed anything. Financially, conversations, advice, adventures, and a figure for the kids. But I couldn't give her the correct form of love that she needed and required, because I was 3 years in after my divorce, and I didn't fully heal properly. So we separated on good terms. A handful of toxic situations happened. Cops being called, a little harassment, and a cussing out that I won't ever forget. But an apology was given to me after all that, and we remained friends for a minute until she met the man she killed, and she took a dark turn. Her energy was draining. This guy moved in with her for a while. We found out later he was having a house built. She never would call me at night or in the evening. It was always between her sessions as a therapist. And during her lunch break, we talked about everything, which I loved because it's hard finding someone to talk to about everything and not let their emotions take over. When I talk big shit, but every time at night, I'm blocked. Morning time, I'm unblocked. Never a text message, always a phone call. And she'd vent about how the dude was spending money on her, but don't do anything for her kids. She said she told him her ex. Me did a lot with her kids. I did. I enjoyed her family. Her son lost his father, and I could relate. I lost mine too. I tried reaching out to him, but he was tough. Made me think, was I the same way coming up, not being connected to anyone besides your mom, and watching your siblings interact with someone who cares about them? And her daughter was a sweetheart, invited me to donuts with dad. I took off work to do that. She loved that I showed up, and I'm glad I got to experience it. Dating a therapist opened my eyes to a lot of things. Shonda taught me a lot, especially about energy and karma. Her energy was glowing, and it was beautiful. It had its thunderstorms over it too, but it didn't get to be too much. No anger in his words, just grief, reflection, and a heart heavy with questions. He didn't write to defend her. He wrote to mourn the Shonda he knew, the one who shone before the darkness took over. He saw the storm coming but couldn't stop it. He tried to guide her through her storms, but in the end, he had to walk away. Now, staring at the wreckage of her actions, he's left wrestling with the same question haunting us all. How does a woman so radiant end up stealing someone's forever? No simple answers exist. Just a path of heartbreak, a broken family, 2 kids who once saw her as their rock, now left with nothing but echoes and the ghost of a man who didn't deserve to die. Word of the shooting tore through Dallas like wildfire. A man was gunned down in his own shop at Redbird. When the suspect's name dropped, jaws hit the floor. A therapist, Rashonda Lowe, the sister who helped folks carry their pain, is now the cause of a tragedy too heavy to bear. That night, the mall locked its gates, not for repairs, not for upgrades, but to grieve. Shop owners down the hall taped flowers to Jaime's gate, scribbled notes in marker, simple words. Rest in peace, Mr. Rocket. You always believed in me. Thank you for your light.
Tonight, the family and friends of a longtime business owner at the shops at Redbird say there is now a huge void in their shopping center and hearts after police say he was shot and killed by his ex-girlfriend. As NBC5's Shannon Miller explains, the man had already tried to protect himself from his ex.
I was in the back, and I came out, I heard all that stuff, pop, 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 pop.
After slamming shut the gate of his embroidery shop Tuesday afternoon, Cletus Spearman says he saw a swarm of first responders at the shops at Redbird within a minute.
And I'm like, Lord, what is going on?
Moments later, he realized his friend and fellow business owner of the cookies and smoothies shop had been shot to death.
It's the worst I've seen, and it made me feel bad because I knew the young man, and it made me cry.
Spearman says he had a daily routine of speaking with Jaime Rocket on his way in and out.
I spoke to him every day, real talk, and that hurt me yesterday.
He was a ray of sunshine. I mean, I would go to him, he'd say, "Hey, T, you doing all right?"
Tatiana Spencer says Rocket was the light at the corner of the shops at Redbird, his restaurant, now sitting in the dark Wednesday.
No, I needed some mustard today, and he's my go-to person for ice and mustard, and he's definitely going to be missed.
According to an arrest warrant, Dallas police say video surveillance shows Rocket's ex-girlfriend, Rashonda Lowe, and Rocket had been talking for about an hour before she began firing, then jumped over the counter, leaving behind a handgun. Rocket's wife told police Lowe had been harassing Rocket, and there was a restraining order against her. Rocket's family releasing a statement Wednesday, reading in part, "We are heartbroken to confirm the tragic and senseless loss of Jay, who was taken from us far too soon through an act of violence. Jay was a pillar of our community dedicated to uplifting those around him and helping countless people achieve their dreams." And longtime business owners here at the shops at Redbird tell me they hope that this shooting does not deter customers from coming through their doors. They want to remind them that this was an isolated incident.
It's going to get better. It's going to get better.
In Dallas, Shannon Miller, NBC5.
Investigators say that Lowe later turned herself into Arlington police when they asked what for. Lowe told them it was a domestic situation with her ex, making a hand gesture indicating that she had shot someone. She has been charged with murder.
Paper can't stop a heart consumed by obsession. It can't hush a storm already roaring. It can't soften rage once it hardens like stone. Dallas grieves, not just for Jaime, but for the system that failed to shield him, for the quiet that let this chaos grow, for the bitter twist of a therapist turning into the very threat she warned others to avoid. A healer became a killer. A man who spread joy, love, and comfort was ripped from the world in a flash of destruction. Rashonda Lowe spoke the language of healing. She knew triggers, boundaries, and the scars of abandonment. She taught folks how to face pain, how to hold it without lashing out. She guided people through messes they didn't know how to navigate. But here's the gut punch. She couldn't save herself. Knowing how to help is one thing. Living it is another when the love you craved leaves you empty. When another woman holds what you thought was yours. When your ex's silence stabs like rejection. There's a thin line between love and obsession, care and control, hurt and harm. Rashonda, trained, respected, admired, crossed it. Not because she was clueless. Knowing better doesn't mean you're whole. It doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you've buried the ghosts of your unhealed pain. Jaime Rocket didn't die because the laws failed. He died because someone's silent wounds festered too long. His killer wasn't a stranger, not some thug off the block. It was a woman who once sat across from him smiling, whispering love. A woman who should have walked away but came back with a vengeance. This ain't just about one man's death. It's about what happens when healing stays shallow. When trauma hides behind a polished front. When we think a degree means someone is fixed. Therapy is strong, but it ain't a shield. Restraining orders try, but they're just ink on paper. A heartbreak in the dark will burst, no matter what a court says. Roshonda once held the keys to help others. In that final moment, those keys shattered against a heart she couldn't mend. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We upload new true crime content daily, covering cases you know and many you don't. Stick with us as we bring you more stories from the shadows that deserve to be heard.